Okay, what's going on, guys? We're back. We got patch notes. And by the way, I did find out onboarding flow is literally just a revamp of the tutorial. I did record a reaction. I decided not to upload that one or use it because I could just out plainly say what it is. And it's a new look at the tutorial screen. I'll definitely showcase that next week with the new when the new season drops. But now for the real make or break patch notes. Let's see what we got. Hi, JC.
Hello, welcome back, everybody. We are transitioning out of the awesome onboarding flow right now and to talk about all of our favorite subjects, patch notes, what's new, what's coming to the game, what'll be live next week for you all to enjoy. And who better to talk about all of that than, yes, indeed, JC is back with us on the couch today. Welcome, JC.
All right.
Thank you. Welcome to you.
All right. Well,
I don't know if I should welcome you. You've been here already.
You can welcome me. I'm fine with that.
All right.
I don't mind. I don't mind. I feel welcome. So
that's good.
That's very good.
You should call this witty banter.
So JC, a new season, new title update dropping next week. Obviously, we've got some changes we want to discuss. Maybe some that'll be surprising. Maybe some that we'll talk about a little later. But what do you?
Come on, let's see.
What should we start with?
All right. Well, let's get started then. So first up, Nusha. So as some of you, I'm guessing most of you, I'm hoping at least, participated in the last testing grounds where we did Lawbringer and Nusha. So the feedback we got for Nusha was very positive. It was working super well. The change that we did for her traps for Glass Waltz and Jade Ballet are pretty much becoming unreactable. Like, we've even had people say, oh, yeah, it's reactable. And then, no, it wasn't. So that's great. So because of this, because the feedback was great, and because it really helps Nusha,
just the way you
decided to push these live right now, right? So that's great.
Awesome.
So just to go through the changes themselves, so heavy attacks on Cancel the Glass Waltz at 500 MS up from 4. From zone attack, it goes to Jade Ballet at 700 instead of 6. And Glass Waltz and Jade Ballet are now 300, down from 4. So what this means overall is that it's going to land at the same time, right? So when you used to play with Nusha, you can do like a heavy soft feint to Glass Waltz, for example, and it would land the exact same time as the hit would have landed, right? So you need to block it at the right time, parry at the right time, do all that sort of stuff. Yeah. This does not change. However, what does change is... okay, this is weird. Okay, so what does change? Sorry, tech issues. That always happens with live stuff.
Oh,
right?
wow. Okay, I thought that was me for a second.
So what does change, however, is the fact that the soft feint, basically, like the cancels to Glass Waltz and Jade Ballet come out a little bit later, and the trap itself is a bit faster. So because of this, it's like a little bit later than normal feint timing. So it's even harder to tell if somebody fainted or is going to use it. And on top of that, it's so much faster. Like that 100 MS pushes it toward being fully unreactable, which means that it's going to be like it's a lot easier to land, and it's a lot harder to react, right? You really have to make a read whenever she throws a heavy. So that's great. It works really well.
So
it's an interesting tool because it works
try to parry the heavy every time,
level,
then basically
where people don't like mistime parries or whatever.
Right,
It's great. And so it's a super interesting tool. We love to be able to keep that uniqueness.
All right, so
Nusha.
it sounds like they're just trying to make it more consistent
across
the board, which is good.
Nusha's like
Consistency
hands down my favorite Wulin, my favorite of the assassins, just because she looks so darn cool.
Yeah,
I love
she
the
does.
Weapons,
She really does.
My favorite
like,
is Shaman.
Yeah.
Everything's so unique about this character.
It's so
that,
unique.
We really wanted to. And I'm super happy that we're actually able
I don't think we need the closed captions.
keep it
Me too.
and to have that function in there, right? Because otherwise, the other solutions were not as fun as this.
I know. I was really hoping for this, so I'm glad it worked.
Super hyped about this.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So next up, Warden. So Warden's been underperforming for a little while, unless you count the
I was going to say, I'm like, did you watch the duel tournament?
Where you're like, well, you got Blitz and you got Ranquist that are like, Warden specialists, but they're so high level that at some point we can't expect everybody to play at their level. So we're doing some changes to Warden to make the hero a little bit more competitive, a little bit better in group fights. That's one of the aspects where Warden has a bit of a harder time. So we're doing like 2 major changes. So first of all, we're changing his side heavy finishers. Yeah. They're 100 MS faster, right? So they're 800 instead of 9. That should really help getting them out, right? Because at 900, it's a bit slow. Yeah. It's a little bit easier for people around you to react to. You have to time them a little bit more differently. So at 8, it's a more standard speed, but it really helps. We've seen in the past that when we sped up Orochi's side heavy finishers, for example, they tend to be
Ugh.
much better. They hit a lot more, so that's great. And on top of this, we've also improved their trajectory. So for
Ew.
this, it's a little bit different. Normally, when Warden swings, like you're gonna swing your big sword. The thing
Yeah,
is
see, I
that
don't know how I feel
the
about that.
way the weapon swings is really diagonal.
Yeah.
So we can't. We normally like the way it worked is the trajectory that we had really matched the weapon super well. But because of this, it was super hard to hit people externally around you, right? And even sometimes it looked like the weapon was going to hit them and it didn't. So what we did is we took that trajectory and we flattened it quite a bit. So it doesn't 100% match the weapon, but we can cheat that a little bit so that it hits people around you a way better.
Right.
So we've done that for his side heavy finisher. So this way, Warden can actually defend himself around with people around him and
Okay,
really hit them
so
on the side.
he should be
That
able to
works
anti
quite
gank
well.
a little bit better.
It should feel a lot better to play. Like
Yeah,
in
Okay,
this
okay,
situation.
understood.
And then on top of this, a feature that I've seen requested by players quite a bit, and we've done some testing, it seemed to feel really good, was that shoulder bash. Normally, when you want to do it off a front dodge, right? You could only do it from 3 to 500 ms. So you can delay it a little bit, not too much, but because it's a charging bash. Takes a while to get into. Takes like a little bit too long to get into the actual bash portion, even if you don't charge it.
All right.
We're
Makes sense,
super
makes
comfortable making it start at 100 ms in your front dodge. So that accomplishes a couple things. It's going to come out 200 ms faster if you just buffer everything, right? Which makes a big difference. It's a bit harder to react to.
All
And
right,
you can
yeah,
also
fair
delay
enough.
it even more, right? So if you think somebody's
Fair
going to
enough, honestly,
try to
fair
dodge
enough.
super early or dodge later, do whatever you want to do, like it gives you a lot
Very
more
good.
versatility with Warden. It should make it a lot easier to open up people with.
60% of
And
wardens
so
absolutely
shoulder bash is a really great
dogpile
tool for
on
Warden,
they're-
right? Like
they're
it
trying to
lets
do
you
the shoulder
really
bash, and
initiate
it's
from
slow.
further out. It lets you do like a lot of weird things that not a lot of heroes are able to do. So it's great. And even though Warden is a little bit simpler in terms of kit and what the character kind of does, at the end of the day, these small changes should really help the viability in Dominion at least. Also in duels a little bit with the opening with shoulder bash. So we're confident that it's going to keep going forward. And we're still keeping an eye on Warden, right? Because even with this, might not get to, S tier or something, which is okay. But
Right.
if the hero is still really underperforming, we can still keep it going and do more changes as we've been doing for quite a bit now. So
we do now, yeah.
it works pretty well, right?
We got a good cadence going.
All right.
with
So
it.
next up in our list of underperforming heroes is Hitokiri.
Oh.
So
Ooh,
Hito,
that's a lot of text there.
yeah,
Hold up. Hold on. What are you doing to my girl? What are you doing? Hold up. Yeah, you know what? In fact, Hito hasn't been doing well. I will agree with that. It's like, but what are you doing? Is this buffs? Because Hitokiri has been bullied when it comes to getting nerfs and stuff, and I'm not a fan. So it looks like these are buffs. Okay, it looks like these are buffs. Let's hear them out. Because Hitokiri has been bullied by this community way too many times. She ended up losing her hyper armor altogether at one point, and then her rework brought it back. So let's see.
it's a lot of text, right?
Alright.
We're gonna have to look at this. I'll explain it. Don't worry.
Okay, please help me.
Yeah, right. But the idea is that Hitokiri has also been kind of underperforming. Sometimes it's a bit of a noob stomper. Like it's very effective at lower levels.
I didn't want to say anything because I mean, when you said that, I'm like, what do you mean underperforming? Oh no,
Right,
am I the noob
so
being stomped?
That's the thing.
Oh,
Right?
no.
So we've tried to focus some changes to Hito that are shouldn't really affect much lower level, but should have higher impacts, like a lot more impact at higher level, so that the hero's
Yes,
more
finally.
playable. She's gonna be a little bit more accessible, but have a bit more power there. So what we've been doing is first of all her heavy openers, right? So before they if you remember. Launch Hitokiri, right?
I do remember launching.
Launch Hito was like very strong because Launch Hito had uninterruptible stance on those opener heavies, but very, very, very early,
Right.
which led to the much loved heavy on red meme. Heavy on red.
Oh, that's right.
So
That was her, wasn't it?
So we ended up removing the armor there, like the armor there. We decided to remove it from there because it was like a little bit too strong. And we wanted to like really like bring the power level down for the
they
hero.
kept
However,
Shudoku's
as
hyper
we've
armor
been going
lights.
on and advancing with the hero and like doing a lot more heroes, a lot more reworks, a lot more that sort of stuff, Hito kind of fell down.
She did,
in the
she did.
rankings, and
I mean,
like,
I still
not as
enjoy
playable as
Hitokiri,
it
but
used to
still.
be. So we're adding back armor there, but we're adding it back at 500 ms at the earliest.
Okay.
So basically, it's like if you tap heavy, then 500 ms into that, you're gonna get armor, right? So
Yeah.
if you charge it a little bit longer, it comes in a little bit later. So there's a couple of those things that it's different, but the idea here is that one of the big counters to Hito was just like lighting. Whenever you saw Hito like throwing a heavy, often enough, if you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna charge a little bit or whatever, you could like really hit them out with a light. It was super hard. Made the hero like hard to really open up and initiate with.
That's what I was supposed to do this whole time.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do this whole
Now
time.
I know,
Like,
now I
mash
know.
light is gonna work. So yeah, but so here's the thing, right? So by doing this, by making this small change, it really lets her like be able to open up in a bit more like open and free manner, right? That really helps.
Okay.
And on
nice.
top of this, we've also reduced the minimum charge time for the uncharged version, right? The version when you tap. So it used to be that you would charge for 400 milliseconds, and then the strike itself, so when it actually started to swing, was 400. So we've reduced
nice.
the charge
Very nice.
portion by 100 ms.
Very
so
nice.
the total attack time
Very nice.
when you just tap heavy is 700 instead of 8. We've also reduced the
Yes.
damage a little bit to compensate for this, but it also helps with the armor coming in with the slightly faster
love it.
opener speed.
I love it.
Should really help Hitokiri like really get there. It has
Mhm.
a couple of like really good points, right? It adds 100 ms more delayability, so you can be less predictable with it. And it also has a pretty nice impact on frame advantage. So when you do end up landing your big heavy finishers, like those big, like I forget the name because I'm kind of bad.
I think it's big heavy finisher.
Big heavy
I
finisher,
believe
right?
That's the
fully
technical
charged
term.
ones
Yeah.
that are unblockable and armored.
Mhm.
So when you do land them, you put your opponent in heavy hit reaction, and then you get a lot of frame advantage.
Right.
And so because of this, with the heavies being at 700, it gives you a bit of an edge that you didn't really have before, on top of the armor, on top of all of those good things. So
Okay.
we're really hoping that
nice,
it'll
nice.
open
I
up
like this.
Hitokiri's game plan a little bit more here and let her
Mhm.
be able to get in a little bit more, get a bit more pressure going, use all of her kit and get into it and, just perform better.
There you go.
So that's good. And then we've also adjusted the chain timings from her opener heavies to the chain heavy attacks. Well, the opener heavies and
Yes.
chain heavies to chain heavies, chain lights, light finishers, kicks, and whatever. So it used to be from 366 to 400 ms. So whenever you would like hit your heavy, it would block, it would hit, or whatever.
Yeah.
The time it would take for the next attack to even start would be at 366.
Yeah.
The reason why we did this is to make sure that if you threw a heavy and it landed, it was blocked or whatever, everybody could always dodge the following light. Because we felt, oh yeah, it's a bit too it's a bit oppressive. It's kind of hard to deal with.
It is.
So we decided to revert this and to go back to 200 to 400. So it gives you again a bit bigger delayability window, makes you a little bit less predictable. Also makes that light tougher to deal with, right? Because if you're trying to pre-dodge whatever is going to be happening, that light is going to hit you. With the dodge changes, it also helps a little bit there. So
A
that's
little
great.
bit, yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, it
it's all that stuff, and it also makes the hero better just because the chain heavies that have armor, the armor kicks in late. So because it kicks in late, now it's going to kick in a little bit earlier, like 166 ms earlier, which makes a bit of a difference there. So it's all those like
Yes.
little changes here that we can do that really help the flow of the hero and get into a position where,
Yes.
well, actually, I feel better playing her. I get a bit more options. I can actually use everything in my kit.
Right.
I
really
already
get
use
some,
everything in
right?
the kit.
Her kit is kind of it's not that it's limited. There's not a lot of stuff, but it's designed to
Yeah,
be
I'm not
around
one of those
kinda being
brain
kinda
dead
like a
Hito mains
blender,
that just
where
throws
you're
heavies
going
all
in,
the time. I
and
use the
whenever
entire
she
kit when I
does
play with her.
correct read, whenever something right happens, she gets to go again and again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Mhm.
And that's the idea. But with those timings, that was
Yeah.
a little bit too challenging to get to. So we kind of messed around with that a little bit to make it a bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Now, last but not least, even though it's on the last item on the list, we adjusted our zone attack trajectory to better match weapon visuals. We love to rate this. I love to rate that.
Yeah.
But essentially, your zone attack was a bit underwhelming. Couldn't really hit a lot of people
Yeah,
around.
no, it really couldn't.
So we've really adjusted it so it hits a bit further, hits more around her, and should be a better tool to use when there's multiple people around you. Try to hit them all.
Yeah, because anti-ganking
in
with
melee
the
and
zone
whatnot.
attack, it was
Oh,
quite
okay.
difficult.
One of the things I like to do with Hitokiri is just run Nuke Kubi and just go into them. You go into them. Not
Yes.
Kubi, I forget the name of the.
He knows.
Ah,
He knows. JC
It
knows.
doesn't matter. You go. You just
One of the feet.
yeah, one of the feats
One of
there.
the feats.
You go. You mash heavy. You kill a bunch of minions. You get infinite stamina. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
But that
Yeah,
was
it's great.
So that's it for Hitokiri.
That is
there.
aggressive.
So a lot of changes here. We hope everybody likes them. We're keeping an eye on
I
the hero again.
definitely do.
Keep going and see where we go.
10 out
We
of 10.
keep an eye on all the heroes, by
Yeah,
the
yeah,
way,
yeah,
just so you know that. Like, we don't
Laser
just
focus.
ignore stuff.
Laser
Yeah,
focus on
yeah,
everybody.
for
yeah.
sure.
Wait, hold on. What? Blade Blockade now costs 10 stamina on entry, was 5, and 0 stamina on it. Yo! Okay. You know what? I like that. It's a slight nerf, but I do like that. I like that. I like that a lot already. Just looking at it without JC even explaining, I like that a lot. See, I saw the hat first, and then I saw the name, and then I saw the sword handles. I'm like, wait, Aramusha? Like, that's how my brain works. I saw the hat first before anything.
So next up, Aramusha. So this might,
Okay.
this is a kind of a different change, right? So it's a buff and a nerf at the same time.
It's fine. It's fine.
Which might sound a little bit weird, but I'll explain.
I'll
It's nice.
explain the logic
You almost
behind.
blew
it,
my
right?
mind
It's
there.
nice.
How
It's
does this work?
nice. I like it.
Aramusha
I like it.
has blade blockade, right? So blade
Yes.
blockade is when you tap down on the right stick, goes into this kind of motion, can block a bunch of attacks, gets a bunch of different follow-ups. The thing is, you can go into blade blockade during the recovery of all of your attacks for like pretty much the entire time of the recovery. So you can cancel into it really well.
Mhm.
We did this to make sure that you're able to time properly all these things, right?
Right.
So that works well.
Yes.
However, you had such a large penalty on stamina when you whiffed it because it used to cost 5 stamina just to perform the move.
Yeah.
And if you didn't block anything, you would pay an extra 10. So it would go up to 15. It didn't really incentivize you to kind of use it. You were getting double penalized because most of the time when you miss
right.
you
And that
get
was always
broken. Something else
annoying.
happens. So you get kind of like double penalized here. So what we decided to do instead is put all the stamina cost for this upfront. So it's on the activation itself and now costs 10. So when you do manage to land it, it's still going to cost you 10, but it's always going to cost you 10, whether you block somebody with it or not.
Right.
And
That's
so
fair.
it should help also not really overuse it, right? It might just look like, oh yeah, just 5 extra stamina, but in the long term, it kind of makes a difference.
It adds up.
It does. It
Especially
really
with
does.
our
Especially when you
Aramusha that
start
has, like, a
going
lot of
to
like
the
really fast
deadly
attacks.
feints.
You're blowing through stamina like crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So with this,
Oh yeah.
you want to use it a little bit more sparingly, but you're not as penalized when you mistime it.
Right.
So that's kind of like the idea here.
That's
It's a
kinda-
small change.
I
But
noticed that.
it has
That's
a
what
good
kinda
effect
why
on
I backed
Aramusha where
away from
you end
Aramusha.
up, okay, well, you got to think a little bit more when you want to do it, right? So we like to promote that type of gameplay, so that kind of works there.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Heck, I
And
picked
then,
Musha just for the
finally,
Blade
Yorm.
Blockade.
This might seem like more of a bug fix, but it's a big thing there. You can now perform
Yes!
Jormungandr's
Let's
chain zone attack
go!
while you're out of block.
Yes!
So
Oh my gosh!
again, like
yes.
this was like something that we overlooked when we did the rework and stuff, and we wanted to make sure that we kind of fix it. But this has
It's
a
a
big
small-
implication because Yorm can now go into the minion lane and not have to lock in to nothing or even a potential hero to be able to really, really clear the minion lane. You can now go and do like heavy zone all the time, and you're doing good in the lane rather than having to do it from like in a locked position. Then it feels awkward. You don't really turn. It's kind of weird. So with this, like it works way better. It's a lot more interesting.
Yes.
It's a small change, but it feels way better on your.
Oh yeah,
So that's great.
absolutely, absolutely.
And if you try out our new onboarding flow, you'll understand why the minion lane is important.
Exactly. So like that onboarding flow is amazing.
Yeah,
by the way.
it's
I'm
really
super psyched with this. So it's
Yeah.
Yes,
really
all
good
right.
stuff.
So
That's
my
great,
main's
yeah.
got a
that's
buff.
it for patch notes.
Okay, but
Wait, that's it?
that's awesome. Thank you so much for
Really?
sharing, JC. But
That was
somebody
quite
seems like we're
short.
missing a bit. You mentioned at the beginning, Nusha was in a testing ground with a certain Labro. Was there too, but I didn't see him there.
Yeah, Lorbert's not there. I wonder why.
I wonder why, indeed.
I
But we don't have to wonder for long because we have another segment coming up right after this where we're gonna talk about the.
Okay, so like two of my mains got a buff. Well, the Aramusha thing, I fully agree. I think he'll perform a lot better, and the Hito changes. Yes, please. It's about time she got some changes, got some buffs. I love Hitokiri. I love using the character. She's so much fun. For me, anyway. And all those changes will definitely make her a lot better. And anti-ganks with Hito has always been fun. But I feel like there were some areas where she was lagging the zone for sure. And I don't mind the damage nerf. You know, the 22 from down from 24. I don't mind that. That's great, actually. I love that change. I really do. It's great. But yeah, let's see the testing grounds, and then we'll call it for today. I'm just kidding. We'll see you guys next time. In the next video. I mean, oh my gosh, what am I saying? Sorry.